1. I've been working the front desk for about 2 years now, and while the pay is terrible, it's usually a very relaxing job. But Saturdays are the worst. Our hotel has been understaffed since COVID. We work on a skeleton crew with only about 100 rooms, and despite always selling out Fridays and Saturdays, I am often scheduled alone to handle the chaos. No security staff or cameras, no housekeeping after the morning crew leaves, no maintenance after 5 p.m., no bartenders, no chefs, no janitors, no bellhops or valet drivers. I am the only manager on duty at the desk. This past weekend was horrible. It was once again a sold-out night, and I had over 50 arrivals. We were overbooked due to a large group booking without notice around 12 p.m., forcing housekeeping to sacrifice their firstborns and kidneys to stay late and finish every single room. We had no holds, no spares. I clocked in at 3 p.m., and they still had 40 rooms to clean, and housekeeping had been there since 8 a.m. We needed every single one if it meant not turning anyone away. As I'm getting settled into the desk, we already have a line of 4 people waiting on rooms. Nothing was ready to check in at 3 p.m. I had the guests wait in the lobby while I tried to communicate with housekeeping on room statuses. I had to go upstairs and personally ask each housekeeper for rooms that were ready to sell. This family of 3 rooms wanted their rooms to all be on the same floor, but did not request this in the stay requests. They only asked this of me after they arrived and were already waiting. I explained to them that we were completely sold out, and we would do what we can. But I could not guarantee I could get their rooms together on the same floor with the limited availability. They said they were fine waiting to check in. I frequently made stops to check on their rooms and any openings. Some rooms eventually were marked as ready, so they were offered to those guests first. The guests turned down my offer because they would prefer to wait longer for the rooms they wanted, so those available rooms went to other check-ins. Later, one of them comes up and starts yelling at me for waiting over an hour, and how it was unacceptable because she was a Diamond member. And started demanding a free night. I understood her frustration, but check-in was supposed to start at 3. Also, she turned down the room I had available. She had booked on points, so she was already on a free night. I thought a more than fair compensation for the issue was awarding her 20,000 points, worth 2/3 of a free night at many properties. I am eventually able to help these guests in, but as far as I knew, they were the only guests who had to wait to check in that night. Much later, after calling my GM and asking for someone to come in as support for the desk, I finally have someone helping on overtime to help. There were a lot of things going on that were stretching me too thin, so the support was greatly appreciated. She and I saw another guest check in several hours later. For the purposes of this story and anonymity, we'll call him Michael Afton. Michael checks in and goes to his room, but the entire time the interaction was off. He seemed skeptical of me from the get-go. He called the desk about 15 minutes later to report a light in his room had burned out. Because I had support that night, I figured I would take a look at it long enough to see if it was something I could fix myself. But as I go up to his room and look, I saw that it was one of the dome lights that we needed a special tool and bulb to change. And I had neither of those. So I apologized and told him that maintenance would be back tomorrow to fix it. He asked about moving rooms, but I explained to him that if I moved him over this, someone else would not get their room tonight. So I apologized and offered free items from our shop to make up for the light bulb. A small issue, a small compensation. But then Michael motions me to look at something he found on the bathroom counter. It looked like a bug from a distance, but I picked it up and inspected it. I saw no antennae, no legs, no wings or shell or anything to indicate it was an insect. It looked more like a piece of debris or wood, and I offered to throw it away for him, but he seemed strangely adamant on keeping it, and giving me weird, skeptical looks. I didn't think much of it because I know I can be a bit awkward at times when explaining things. I blame my neurodivergence. I go back downstairs after apologizing again and think I had resolved what I could to the best of my ability. Michael later came back downstairs with his kid to claim some of the free items I offered, and so I let him pick out what he wanted and marked it off. He did not say much to either of us. I tried to handle the rest of the night as best I can with the support I had, but we still had a slew of issues that took way more priority over communicating to this nothing burger. So when audit comes in and I pass over my notes, I neglected to fully explain the situation that happened with Michael. I was not at all expecting what happened after I left. Allegedly, after I left on my shift, Michael came back downstairs to the desk and was unabashedly screaming at the auditor. He complained that he felt personally attacked and mistreated by the evening staff. He yelled and cussed and complained about how I, allegedly, was shown a bedbug in his room, and allegedly I picked it up, threw it on the floor, laughed it off and told him I wouldn't help him. Michael complained about his wife, waiting for hours to check in, how he feels like this is the worst hotel he had ever stayed at, how he had connections with corporate and housing agencies, and would pull every string he had to go after my job. How I deserved to be fired for this, how he was paying $300 a night, not nearly what we charge for a night here, to stay with us, and how poorly we were treating them. How he felt like it was a slap to the face, that what I gave him for free was not to his liking. My auditor, not knowing my side of the story, didn't fully believe him, but also decided to reimburse this guest enough points for a free night. On his free night. Even after this, Michael went upstairs, waited an hour, and came back downstairs even angrier, yelling about how the more he thought of it, the angrier he got with me. The auditor told me he felt like he was a therapist with how worked up Michael was getting, shaking and crying and demanding more compensation, allegedly. He stayed here a few nights ago and checked out, and had bedbugs in his prior room and didn't mention it at all until now. So the auditor tried to pacify him again by reimbursing more points for another free night, to make up for that first room. Every hour interval, Michael keeps coming down and interrupting the auditor's work, to keep complaining incessantly. He complains about how he doesn't feel comfortable sleeping in that room because of bedbugs. Only to go back upstairs, wait a bit, come back down to keep yelling, and by 3 a.m. he started demanding for the auditor to call our GM to speak to him personally. The auditor refused. Morning eventually comes, and the support I had for the night prior was on duty for breakfast and checkout, so Michael eventually comes down for breakfast and starts screaming at her. Even though Michael knew he was compensated twice over, he still wanted to scream at her, cuss at her with every word in the book, demanding she call her boss, threatening to have corporate fire me, asking if every employee he saw was the GM. She gets close to calling the police on him. When we refused to give him cash or credit compensation further, he went into the lobby with a full house, shouted to the clientele that this hotel had bedbugs in every room, then flipped off the desk agent and stormed away. At checkout, Michael admitted that he might have overreacted, and said he probably made up the bedbug thing. Housekeeping later inspected the room and found no trace of pests. I wish there was a way for us to revoke diamond statuses. Update. Thanks to everyone's support, I had the confidence to find and reach out to the Fraud Detection Agency, and the agency assistance admin to investigate this guest. However, their response boiled down to, "Sorry, we can't help you with this. Have you considered not renting to this guest?" Guess my lot in life is to take the crap that lands on me. Update 2. I also learned today that not only is the Fraud Detection Agency not going to investigate this guest, but this man has been calling every single day for the past week, demanding us to further compensate him. My GM told it to him straight. At this point, it was the guest who owed us money for everything he has already received. 2 comped rooms, 2 separate employees purchasing points for him, free items from the shop. He was strictly told that our hotel would not be doing anything else for this guest, and that he was blacklisted from our hotel. If he calls again, I'm tempted to apologize and say, "I am sorry, but your binky is not with us. Please go check your crib and high chair." 2. I am a security guard at a high-end resort. We receive calls all the time regarding suspicious check-ins. I was informed of a check-in that was prepaid. The front desk employee noted to me that the 2 guests appeared very tattered, not our usual clientele. I asked the employee if the room had successfully been paid for. "Yes, we received payment." I informed the front desk employee that if they were registered to the room and the room is paid for, they were good to go. At the same time, I'm notified of an extremely beat-up SUV that parked in one of our parking lots, specifically told that the truck was full of clothing and all the windows were broken. I put two and two together. It must belong to the guests who had just checked in. I checked the reservation on file. They were here for 3 nights, staying in the building neighboring that same parking lot. Everything checks out. I send an email out informing everyone of this check-in, and that the check-in itself appears to be legit, but the people who checked in are likely homeless. First day, nothing happens. I told the overnight security guard to keep an eye on the SUV, since it's full of stuff and unsecure. Second day, I told that they witnessed a suspicious interaction out in the parking lot. I review the CCTV footage and I confirm that there was a suspicious interaction in the parking lot. Nothing concrete to go off, though. It looked suspicious, but it could have been anything. We start monitoring the vehicle and guests more thoroughly. Third day, the guests are scheduled to check in. We watch them leave. Later, I get called by a housekeeper who reports that the same SUV is in our other parking lot. I drive to that parking lot, and I see that they're changing a flat tire. I touch base with them, ask them if they need help. Obviously, they can't leave with a flat, but when I can expect them to leave since the reservation has expired. The man immediately is defensive and aggressive. He tells us that he still has a reservation with us. He gives me the name on the reservation, insists his reservation is still valid, and he's allowed to be here. I verify their reservation has expired, but I also notice this person's name is listed on 3 other reservations. I informed him that of those 3 reservations, one of the 3 parties has refused to pay for the amenities they purchased. I also see that all 4 of these reservations were supposed to check out today. Red flag, obviously. I tell the front desk that they need to look into this ASAP. I go back to the dude and I tell him, yes, you had a reservation with us, but not anymore. Once he changes the flat tire, he needs to leave. It's obvious they're loitering for as long as they can. Every time I drive by, a different tire is lying on the ground. I drive back out to the parking lot in the evening after I see another car pull up next to their car, and another suspicious interaction. I tell them it looks like their tire is fixed. They need to leave immediately. The man starts getting more aggressive with me, telling me that he's not going anywhere. He has a reservation with us. I ask him why they've been sitting in their car all day if they have a room with us.
I was changing a flat tire.
I threaten to call the police. At the same time, he tells me he's going to call the owner of the reservations that were made. He's telling this person that he needs to come over right now. A security guard is harassing them, and that my butt is going to get kicked if I'm not careful. So I tell them again I'm calling the police if they don't leave the property. The girl that has stepped away while I was arguing comes back and says, I just made a reservation and you can leave them alone now. I go to the front desk and I'm told it wasn't a reservation. She simply inquired about the nightly rates, and she says she's back with money. I decide to wait for backup and see if they'll go through with the reservation plans. When backup arrives, I go out again with my co-worker. They're sleeping in their car. I wake them both up, and the guy is livid, threatening to fight me. He calls the person who made the reservations again, telling the guy to come over now. We need to teach him, me, a lesson. I'm fully prepared for everything to go south very fast. I tell my colleague to call 911, and that we're leaving the area to the front desk. The reservation owner shows up at the front desk to talk to me. I am shocked. It really is the owner of the reservations. He had ID to prove it. He is a relatively normal-looking guy, extremely calm, actually very nice. First, he tries to BS me. Well, if they have a reservation, they can sleep in the parking lot if they want, right? No! Not at all! The owner of the reservation tells me he manages a construction site, and he hires people down on their luck. He often gives them a place to stay near the job site they work at. That's why he made 4 reservations with our property, so his workers have a place to stay. I tell him I no longer want these people on our property. After being threatened by them, I consider them a threat to this property, and that the police are on their way. He says he understands. They all finally leave. Next day, after front desk investigates this guy's reservations, we realize that every single reservation this guy made, thousands of dollars, the card he used bounced. We can't get a hold of him. The front desk monumentally screwed up with this reservation. It was entirely fraudulent, and all we can really do is file a police report and report fraud. The employee who checked them in is a new employee. We're of the opinion that it was an honest mistake. We also discovered the following day the room these people stayed in destroyed. Sheets and blankets stolen, decor stolen, drugs. Apparently, they brought their flat tire into the room because there were tire marks on the floor and in the bathtub. For the next week, multiple transients try to park in our parking lots overnight. They all cite the same reservation and try to convince me they're allowed to stay in our parking lots. I'm kicking people out left and right. Pure insanity. My favorite story to tell people. 3. So in my original post, I complained about guests haggling for a lower rate. How my night auditor granted the request and let them pay in cash for multiple rooms, took no cards for incidents. Well, he has since been let go, and I brought the situation to the local police. Now for the update. During this week of Thanksgiving, we weren't open for the holiday. We have 2 morning attendants handling the checkouts, delivering toiletries, and a Thanksgiving brunch for our guests and working staff should they want to eat. They can volunteer for this. In return, they get holiday pay added to their quarterly bonuses. After 12 p.m., they all go home to spend the day with their families. 2 of my staff live nearby, so they volunteer to be on call. So the allegedly newlywed couple came to the inn, blew up my night attendant's, Jay's, phone. He comes in and immediately recognizes them as the couple that came with a wedding party to haggle. Jay told me they were disappointed that M, the night audit, got canned, wasn't there, and stated he was very accommodating. Well, the couple isn't looking for a room, but a refund for all the cash payment for every room. Apparently it was paid in excess. Need to know details regarding this. They haggled to pay $150 cash each for 22 rooms. These rooms were empty for a scheduled deep cleaning. They weren't stripped yet, but M unblocked them all for the party. The rooms were made under one name. An older gentleman, neither the bride nor groom, put their names down. They didn't give cards for incidentals, apparently because their bank wasn't authorized to be used here. Jay tells them since it was cash, it's already been processed and can't be returned. Also, he can't put $3,000 plus on their cards since it wasn't paid by them, but each person individually. The wife tells him the money can be put onto their bank card, that they're all related, and it wouldn't be an issue. When Jay explains that it isn't possible, the couple becomes tense and pushy. But Jay goes to the back pretending to speak with the manager, me, but actually called the police. Comes back out, holds him there by pretending he's processing the request. As soon as the police come in, the couple tries to leave, without getting the card back. I'll spare you the rest and let you know that the couple has been arrested. Apparently, they not only attempted this at several other properties in the area, but they also attempted to do a check scam with an event space that came in as an immediate red flag at the local bank. Please take this information as a new scam to be hyper-vigilant of. The red flags were glaringly obvious here, but these scammers are coming with newer tactics during the holiday season especially. With all that said, I hope everyone had a good holiday. 4. Week 3 of a new night audit job at a hotel located next to an RV resort. It's like an open hotel with a building for front desk, and then rooms are spread out throughout the property. So anyways, front desk closes at 9, and until 7 we just service you through a window. 1:30 a.m. rolls around, and I get a call that someone needs some new keys. I told her I'd meet her out back, so she doesn't have to walk all the way out to the front window, and I was going to go out for a smoke break anyways. It's important to note that I have keys I was told would let me back in, where the back door to ever lock. The back door only ever locks if it's slammed really hard, so it technically always stays open. Well, when I stepped out, I closed the door, and it honestly didn't even slam. Gave the keys to the guest and finished my cig. Tried to open the door. Crap. No worries, that's why I always have keys around my neck. Try the lock, no dice. Run around to try the front door, no dice either. There is another door to the side, but I was told that door no longer worked, but I tried it nonetheless. No dice either. I'm panicking as I left my phone at the front desk and have no way of contacting my manager or supervisor. I start to panic as I have no way to reach anybody, and even if I did, I'm a stupid millennial who doesn't even memorize numbers. Luckily, I spot a guest who's about to leave and ask him to use his phone. This guest's phone isn't connected, and he can only call with Wi-Fi, which is better than nothing. I try to log into my WhatsApp, but it needed to send a verification code to my phone first. My next thought was I swear I saw my supervisor pop up on my People You May Know list on Facebook. It was a long shot, but maybe I could contact him through there, but once again, need to verify via my personal phone. Not knowing what to do, I dial PD and have the operator dial the alarm company, whose stickers are all over the hotel, to see if they have any points of contact for the hotel. He put me on hold and comes back and asks me if any of these people are my supervisors, and proceeds to give names I've never even heard of. Nonetheless, he said he was going to send over an officer to the RV resort next door to ask the security guards if they would know anyone they can reach out to. Officer comes by and says they had nothing. He says the only thing he can think of would be to call the fire department and have them break down the door. I thanked him for his help and went to sit in my car defeated, thinking there was nothing I can do until my manager comes to relieve me at 7. I started to cry and think I was going to get in so much trouble, as it was 3 at this point, and I hadn't run audit and wasn't going to be able to set up breakfast. I was honestly ready to go home without a job today. Now, I don't know what made me go to the side door again and try it, but I went to it and told myself there's no way my night's going to be like this. So I grabbed it with both hands and pulled it with all my strength, and put all my weight back, and it opened. I immediately ran to the desk and ran audit. I put a rock to prop the door open, and went to the side door and tried to open it again, and couldn't. The last hour and a half was so surreal, I don't know if it's actually real, or if it was just a night audit hallucination, from being on day 8 of working in a row. 5. So just to give you an idea of my mental state at this point in time, I am an assistant front office manager for a Harriet program property near the airport. We have been really short-staffed, and I haven't had a day off in 34 days straight. I am also working on an average 12 hours during this stretch. I am working a double, so 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and this guy and his auntie walk in to check in. It is around 9 p.m. I do the same old welcoming and everything is normal, until I notice he booked a discount rate that requires a form. I ask him if he has his form with him, and he says, "Oh yeah, I have a picture of it." We aren't supposed to check someone in without the physical form, but I was willing to, as long as I could see the form number so I could validate it. The picture was of a ripped-up paper with no visible number. I said, "I can't accept this form." That's when it hit the fan. He turns really hostile and biggens up his chest.
"I've been around the world in 77 nights and never had this problem. I am a Criteria member."
I just tell the man, "Look, you can print out a PDF free right here at our business center. But listen, I can't check you in without the form number." He started walking around in circles, cussing me out, calling me every name in the book. I kid you not. In one sentence, he used racial slurs, told me I didn't know who I was messing with, that he would beat me and have me fired, with very colorful language. I began to visibly shake and start to sweat, not out of fear, but because I wanted to say something back that was not professional. He was yelling at me in front of another guest and another family that I was just helping with their bags. The only thing I could think of to say was, "Listen, if you want to use this type of language, I'm happy to cancel your reservation, and you can go stay elsewhere." The man looked like he had seen a ghost and screamed, "Who the F do you think you are?" and then began with the racial slurs again. I wanted to stand up, slap him, or say, "You know, screw you and screw this job," but obviously I did not. He finally came to his senses and said,
"F you, I'm going to print this form and you're going to check me into the best room you've got."
I did not want to check him in, but I knew I needed to so I could get his form number and contact whoever was managing the property in which he got this form from. Once he came up with his finally printed form, he was calm and checked in like a normal human being. The family that I helped came by and dropped off a nice little letter, said things along the lines of, "Hey, don't take crap from that guy. You're doing great. Don't let this man change who you are." The letter really meant a lot to me, so I have it pinned in my office now. This was, believe it or not, the short version because he said a lot more things to me, that I would be here typing for days. In the end, I got a hold of the property that he got his form from, and his form has been suspended. This rich guy was going crazy on me about a room that cost him $57, but now he will be a little less rich now that he has to pay full price for his rooms. Thanks if you made it this far through my vent. Remember, my fellow front desk associates, these guests will come and go. Smile through it all. They'll either love it or hate it, but either way, we get paid. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to COAHW, episode 163. Before you go, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and of course do support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. Okay, no more business today, I don't think, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, this might shock some of you, but am I alone in that I have never ever stayed at a hotel? Let me know what you think in a comment below. I'm sure I can't be the only one, but I've never had a reason so far. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day in a previous video. And this one came from COAHW 162 and was about if your kids went trick-or-treating, what was the worst treat somebody gave out? And today's answer comes from Annie Northman. As someone that's respectful of all religious and religious beliefs, as a kid, getting pamphlets from the church one night during trick-or-treating wasn't the best thing for me at the time. Thank you very much for your answer, Annie Northman. Yeah, I mean, unless they were made of, like, sugar paper or something, no. You can't eat Jesus. Well, actually, you can, but you have to go to church to do that. Unless you can buy those wafers on Amazon. I'm actually very curious now. I might check that in a minute. Anyway, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.